So is this just kind of like before you started? Is this kind of like just bullshitting? Like it's nothing
Pretty much.
specific?
We're gonna put you on the hot seat. We usually start off like our guests: who you voted for, what's your stance on guns, are you
Yeah,
vaccinated,
yeah, just completely
do you
fuck
believe in
everybody.
COVID? Like literally that. So if you want to start with that, I mean, we'll get going just like
Oh boy.
that.
Hey
Wait,
guys, look at my text real quick.
okay. Oh
This
God, dude.
this is my setup.
Can I use that as a thumbnail
Yeah.
for the YouTube video? Oh my God, dude, that's so perfect.
Oh shit.
Life on the road,
All right, Bryce,
dude. That's great.
you want to intro our guest?
Sure, sure.
Hmm.
Kevin, thank you for joining us. We're here with Kevin MORANZ, hot off of a astounding performance at Atlanta One. Great LCQ. We're in the main.
Thank goodness.
What you got? You were what? 16th, 17th?
In the main?
Yeah.
No, I ended up 19th.
Okay.
Kind of I mean, I don't know what kind of listener base you guys have or not, but I kind of shit the bed a little
Everybody
bit.
in
I mean,
industry, so be careful
yeah,
what you say.
yeah. Well, I just didn't. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, I mean, LCQ is good. I actually almost had it through the heat race. I got passed by Chiz on the last lap. And then yeah, LCQ starts have been honestly on point lately, which is sick. But yeah, just got a good start, rode my race, and then held off Starling and Dino to get into the main event. And then yeah, just honestly, in my thought, like getting to the main event is obviously pretty sweet, but I've done that a couple times now. So my next goal is to try to crack the top 15, and I think I'm capable of that. But I lost all my energy in the LCQ. So yeah, I mean it is what it is, but we'll see what we do next weekend.
I have so many questions for you.
Yes, hit me.
Okay. First of all, have your starts been as good in the heat races as they've been in the LCQs?
Yes, like the starts, all three starts that I had. So the heat race, I started like fourth, I think, third or fourth. Like it was I don't know what Suzuki it was, but there was three of us right up front. And then, because I remember Roxon rolled the finish line on the first lap, so I jumped past him. So I was sitting third and just kind of got shuffled back through the whoops mainly. Like I just sucked through the whoops compared to those guys with how slippery and everything they were.
Everybody did.
Yeah. And so, yeah. But then LCQ, fat hole shot, kind of, at least to the first corner. And then I slid coming around my front hole shot device, didn't detach or unlatch or whatever. Until I hit the first jump. So like I bonered aired off the jump. Nice. And got back in, just was running second for a little while before I ended up fourth. And then in the main started the farthest outside gate, 22nd gate pick, and came out like eighth. Honestly, had a really good start, but then went through the first couple corners and it was just kind of a shit show like usual. And then I don't know why, but we rolled the first double before the finish line. And then I had Anderson right in front of me. And I was following right behind him, expecting him to hit the finish because everybody in front of him hit the finish. So whether he got unbalanced or just kind of chickened out, didn't really know what was going on in front of him. So I had to roll all three of those doubles on the first lap. And by the time I finished that, like I was damn near last. So kind of got screwed out in the first lap and then just tried charging, but petered out.
Isn't that funny how I had the same experience with Anderson in a heat in Arlington. And I expected him to like be really risky and do the obstacles, and he was rolling everything in front of me. I was like, hang on a second, this isn't what
I know.
So what do you like, have your starts always been good? Because technically you're probably not doing anything really super different. Are you just at this point like you're on a roll mentally and you just know you're going to get a good start? So they're
kind of. I honestly would have to say that. Like I could probably honestly say starts are, I mean, yeah, bike has a lot to do with it, but clearly I'm kind of proving that wrong considering I'm on a 2019 stock KTM 450. But I would have to say starts are almost 80% mental. Like you just kind of have to believe that. And yeah, I would have to say exactly what you said. Like I'm kind of on a roll, so I have confidence knowing that I'm going to get good starts. And it's just kind of continuing to do so is the hardest thing. So
yeah, you and Clayson have gone back and forth with those good starts
for
privateers. So I want to back up a little bit if we could. So
because we know nothing about you. I don't know really anything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to kind of
uncover. Well, I want to get into your story, Kevin, but I want to go broad first and talk about Atlanta because we had 17-minute lap times, and you guys saw, I saw the track. I mean, so for those of you who didn't watch all of Race Day Live or don't know, you guys had basically one time on the track for one time qualifier, and you got what, 5 laps in?
Probably about, yeah.
Massive track, which in AJ and I and kind of our group chat, we were like, this track looks sick. Like if anything like they showed the map, if they built it anything like that, anything close, it was going to be awesome. And everyone was expecting it to be kind of like Daytona-y and turned out to be a little longer even, but then the freaking rain happens. And so, AJ, this goes to you too. Like, so you guys show up on race day, it's pouring rain, right?
No.
Oh, it's not.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. You can tell them.
So honestly, it's been the same well, no, Orlando was a washout and then it wasn't because it ended up being perfect, right?
Yeah.
Daytona, it was pretty similar to Daytona. Like the skies were like, okay, the sky does not look pretty, but it wasn't really raining yet. It was, but not enough to really. Oh no, it wasn't.
No, it didn't rain until our freaking session. Until middle of A 450, it started sprinkling, and then it rained on us during our session, and then it really screwed C practice.
Yeah, okay. So it started to let loose in ours pretty good. Like the track, so the track was hard as a rock because they had it tarped and they didn't water it. So it was dry as a bone and like cement. And
did they do that anticipating it was going to get a little moist from rain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah, they did it anticipating it was going to be like a washout probably, you know, the night before or the morning of, but it didn't at all. And it was dry as a bone and hard as a rock. So we went out there and I'm like, oh my God, not only like was it dry and hard packed, but everything was straight up and down. And so the first lap or two, I was like, holy crap, this is nuts. And then it started to like really rain and everything was super slippery. So in my head, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do as little as I can to make the night show so I don't kill myself, because I knew that C group was going to be a washout just based on how much it was starting to rain. I'm like, get a mediocre would be an overstatement. Get a mediocre.
I was watching those lap times. I was like, he's got to be planning something here, or he broke a leg.
But I was still 7 seconds faster than C group. I just knew. Yeah. I knew that it was going to get to the point where it was unrideable because I knew how our last couple laps were in our practice. And
you guys didn't have a free practice, right? It was just Q1. You went right to qualifier.
Yeah, and you were right. It was, I think, let's see, I did 2 fast laps and maybe 3 slow laps, which would have included my very first sight lap. So I got 5 laps around the track.
Now, were you guys watching 250s in like kind of like, oh shit, like this is gnarly? Were you?
I was watching them like on my phone before we headed up, and yeah, I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be kind of a shit show. And then when we got up there, and then we were obviously watching like a practice of 450s going, and like AJ said, like when I was looking at the track specifically after the first set of whoops, hit that triple, and then you have like those 8 jumps that were after that. When I was looking at that, I'm like, dude, those things are peaky.
Yeah.
Like when you got in there. So like I was watching that, and then that's when I didn't get to see it. Saw the very end of what Benny did, but like I was seeing like Cooper hit it very first lap. He was the only one that hit it very first lap, and he OJ'd it. And then I was just kind of watching everybody. The first time they had hit it, they would over jump it and kind of land in the pocket, or even honestly case the quad. And apparently that's what Benny did. That's why he didn't race. Is I saw the very end of it of him like smacking, and then just rode right off the track, put his feet up on his bikes. And I was like, I knew exactly what happened at that point. So I was like, first time I hit that, I would rather come up a touch short than go too long. So
did you jump it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I probably got it. I don't know if I got it. Yeah, I got it in qualifying, I think. I honestly can't remember, dude. It was so quick.
Wait, you jumped it? Did you jump in the LCQ or the races?
I don't know if I jumped it in the LCQ, but I know I hit it like 4th lap of the main, and then I hit it every lap of the main after that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I probably, to be honest, I probably would have jumped it if I hadn't have gone and sat there and watched A group all come around and do it.
Yeah.
And even on my GoPro is running, and it had me saying, looked over at Cade, I think, and I go, well, I wasn't scared, but I am now. The guy that came through was smacking their face on the handlebars. I was like, oh my God.
And like the 3, just to get into the 3 was still peaky. So like I just said, like I'd rather come up a little short than over jumping it. You can't come up that much short or else you're going over the bars. So it's definitely like I came into it real timid and just like obviously hit it real hard at the top of the face. I got lucky and like kind of downsided it good the first time, but I'm like, that is technical.
Yeah, because there was no room for error either way. Was the second one a little bit more forgiving? Maybe you could go a little long.
Yeah, second one wasn't bad. First one was just the most intimidating one because you're coming off of a little bit smaller one to a touch bigger of a jump or whatever, and then you're going off of a big one to a smaller one on the second triple. So the first one was tougher. The second one wasn't bad.
Yeah, that track was no joke. No joke. I mean, it like, and even for me, this was my major problem. All of the doubles. So you had the 3 on the finish line straight away. You had
how ridiculous was the finish line?
Okay, this is the problem. Have you ever ridden PAX in Florida?
No.
Oh, okay. All of them looked exactly the same, but every single one of them was a different distance. So I was like, how freaking fast do I go? And luckily I was gauging just far enough behind people. I think I was riding behind my teammate Jeremy Smith, and I let him guinea pig every single one. So I would watch his speed, and then I would see if he went long or short. And every single time he went long and real long. And I was like, okay, these were shorter than I thought. Because he sent the finish line to almost the face of the next one. I was like, okay, go nice and slow.
Yeah, that's why I saw Tomac on the first lap, because I was watching, obviously we were watching A practice, and this was before they got around to the triple that we were just talking about, and Cooper overjumped that. So like the very first lap, Cooper overjumped the finish line, and then Tomac sailed the finish line. I'm like, that thing has got to be super easy. So like I was very happy I was able to watch.
Yeah, I know, right? It's helpful. And then the one after it was deceivingly long. I thought.
Yeah, I 100%. Or like honestly, it was the face, because like I don't know how different the distance was, but the face on the finish line was a lot more straight up, and the finish or the double after that, it was still pretty straight, but for whatever reason it shot you straighter instead of farther up. So like it was definitely deceiving, because like in the main event, I flat landed the finish line. How many laps did we do? I guess what did we do, like 17 or something like that? 15 out of those 17 times I overjumped the finish line.
Now, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but since we're talking about that section, Sexton, that last lap or second to last lap in the main, Tomac passes him. He comes around to do that 3 set of doubles. What happened? Well, it looked like he had enough speed to jump those doubles, but then checked up and then rolled 2 sets of them. And I was like, do you guys have any theories on what was going on there?
Kevin, did you watch it?
With who? Are you talking about Sexton Tomac? Are you talking about Sexton Tomac, like when he got caught up with Cade?
Yeah.
After that, the section at the finish line jump, those 3 doubles. Why? I thought that Sexton was going to just jump him, and he ended up rolling him. AJ, you're shaking your head.
I could be wrong, but the video that I saw, I thought he rolled the first one because he got screwed up, and then he's like, I just got to go to the inside now. And then I think he hit the finish line in the second one after that. I could be wrong.
No, he didn't. He didn't hit the one after the finish.
That's what I mean. Like It looked like he came. I thought when I was watching it, like maybe like Tomac took the line that he was taking off that face, and he got maybe just kind of sketched that he didn't know the line on the other side. I don't know, but he rolled that one.
So
which is what cost him so much time.
Yeah. Oh, that was what sealed the deal in the race. So I was watching the race on my phone as I was watching it in person, just so I could see the other parts of the track. Because watching it, it was like an outdoor national. It'd be like, all right, and here they go. And and it's for 2 seconds. And so when I saw it happen, I saw it from across the way. And I'm like, that at first I go, oh my God, he thought it was the checkered flag. He slowed up that much to where I thought he thought the race was over. And then he kept going without even looking back at this white flag. And I'm like, that was weird. And when I watched the replay back, what happened is he went a little long, and Kevin, you'll have to watch this the replay back to see what you think. But he went slightly long, and then when he landed, I think he cross-rutted the tiniest bit and kind of faded left, and he must have just not felt confident enough to jump it. Okay. Without thinking.
That's what it looked like. I'm glad you said that, because I was wondering. I was like, why did he check up so much on that jump? Because that's what cost him any chance of catching Tomac.
Yeah. And Kevin, did you watch the replay of the Cade incident?
Yeah, I did.
So I'll give my kind of thoughts.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? And then I'll give you mine.
So then this is without knowing really what happened the lap leading up to it. Although I text Cade and he told me what happened. Cade said that he was getting the blue flag for 2 or 3 laps.
Oh yeah, dude, that's the problem with our situation right now is they'll give you the blue flag before they're even the straightaway behind you. So you're just riding until you end up hearing them. So anyway, continue.
Which kind of screws you guys. And I've been in that situation too. When you're trying to have a productive main event, you're not just out there like trying to get out of you're trying to ride your race as much as possible until like the very last second where you can then get out of the way. So if he's getting the blue flag for 3 straight laps, then it's on Cade to just know where they're at. And what he told me and what I just based on watching it, he didn't know how quickly they were going to catch him in the sand. I think the speed that those guys hit the sand and attack that next section, they closed up on him like 3 seconds or 4 seconds, like that. And then by the time Cade knew he was there, it was too late. And Cade, as soon as he realized, he hopped off the track in the left.
I thought that was the smartest decision. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And me watching it, I watched it over and over because I was like, all right, I want to make sense of what the heck happened. I think it was a lot of Sexton just being anxious and wanting to make the move too quick. Because if he had simply followed Cade for 1 second, Cade would have gave way and he would have been okay. Or even if he made the mistake, he could have rolled the double and turned left on the outside and hit the double before the finish. Him going inside and rolling the finish line was like sacrificing that position.
Yeah. That's I mean, how many times have we talked, and Kevin, we've talked so many times this season, even other seasons, about the communication on the track, the whole flag situation, how much that needs to improve. Blue flags particularly, but I mean, in all scenarios, why can't they just freaking do some sort of electronic communication with you guys? Something in the helmet, something your mechanic could say, yeah, or you guys could talk back and forth. Hey, I'm getting a blue flag. And somebody could say, yeah, don't worry about it for 10 seconds, for 3 sections, whatever. I just think there's just room for massive improvement with communication, whether that be like electronic communication or
like
just
the little
tightening up the flags. But yeah.
Like those little, I would have to say, because I've rode with the communication system, like the Cardo systems before, and I actually have one. I dig them. I have not really rode a whole lot with them on Supercross. Like, I think outdoors are pretty good because, like, obviously you got a lot more time in air and you're kind of flowing. You're not turning and setting up for something you got to think a lot about. But I don't know what they need to do, whether they hold the blue flag out and just leave it straight to give you like, okay, they're coming up, you got a little while, and then wave the hell out of it when they're getting close to you or what. But like the way they do it, like it even happened with me because I only got lapped by, it was Sexton and then Tomac and then Webb in the main event. So those 3 lapped me and I was probably trying to give an example here. So I was going to the mechanics area, like where they're putting out the pit boards, and Sexton and Tomac were probably hitting that like 3-3, like the triple coming in after the whoops. I was already getting the blue flag. Dude, they're 10, 15 seconds behind me, 10 seconds behind me probably. Like I need to be getting the blue flag when they're 4 seconds
coming up. Yeah, coming up.
You know what I mean?
That's useless to get it that far.
Yeah,
right?
Because then you look back and you see, oh, they're not behind, they're way behind me. So then you go back into race mode, and then sometimes I don't know whether Cade forgot or, like you said, maybe just got caught up in the sand. But you go back into race mode, and then all of a sudden they're right on your ass. So it needs to get better to the point where like we need a better communication system, whether it's the flaggers or whatnot, of when they're getting closer. Because like after you look back, you see they're 15 seconds behind you, then you go until you hear them, and that's when situations like this can happen.
And the problem is, I think, is that these flaggers are there for the weekend and then that's it. Like these are volunteer flaggers, I'm pretty sure, or they're just getting hired on for the weekend. Like these guys don't know what they're doing. And it's such a precise thing. I think, Bryce, you're right about the radio communication. I think that's the answer. And then as a team and as individuals, you would have to make sure that your whatever the heck crew chief in your ear is not yapping your ear off the whole time. But that would be on you to like make sure that your dude knows when you want to hear something and when it's critical that you hear something through that radio. But
or even if they did like an officials communication, maybe it wasn't just mechanics to tell you whatever whenever. Maybe if there's like an official that could get on and either make like a broadcast to everybody, particularly with like medical flag or red flag, and then the blue flags. I mean, there's just been so many examples this season alone where the flag situation is clearly costing people races. We've seen 2 races get caused because of lap traffic issues and flags. I mean, that just can't happen. It's crazy.
And it's even more critical on a shorter track, right? Kevin just said he only got lapped by 3 people. That's unheard of in the Supercross race. Usually you get lapped by probably the top 10 guys somehow.
Dude, how about the like when you're seeing the like 20th, 18th, you're seeing 131-second gap. Did anybody catch that?
Oh my!
You never see that. You never see that.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was
I think it's cool. I'm all for like moving on to a different topic, I guess. I'm all for unique tracks and unique like obstacles and stuff like that. And this track was pretty much that. I was like, you know what? They're gonna make a long track. They're gonna make it into as much of Daytona style as possible. And I don't think it was that. It was pretty darn supercrossy for how elongated it was.
Did you guys like how long it was? I personally, as a fan watching, I kind of enjoyed how it wasn't, and we've talked about it so many times before, how it wasn't so monotonous. And Kevin, we've talked a lot about how a lot of the tracks become very robotic. The riders look robotic on them. This was not that at all. I mean, we stretched out basically 2 supercross tracks, if you talk lap times, into one lap, and everybody was super spread out. It was super technical, so you had to be really, really on point with everything. It's kind of like what we've been waiting for, at least me as a fan.
I would have to say that I enjoyed the track when it comes to, like you said, like the different obstacles, just kind of being different than just like, everybody doing the same thing, right? What I didn't really like as much is the kind of like the leaning like turns. Like it's not like a supercross where you turn a 90 and then go straight, or you
where
turn
Plessinger went down.
Yeah, so like where you're kind of like leaning, it's good for racing because that's a separator. Like I personally struggled there. And for instance, so you go after the finish line, you hit the next jump, and then you hit that wall, and then like there's like whoops in the turn or whatever. Like I sucked at that because I didn't feel very comfortable. My bike didn't handle very well there. Handled pretty well everywhere else, but like just little sections like that can be a massive separator between, like the top guys too. So I think the difference is good, but I don't know. That's kind of what I feel like.
What about you,
AJ?
AJ?
Section on the track, that stupid freaking roller around the left-hand turn, and then you had the one with the deep rut and the big whip.
Yeah. I know.
And I was like, every lap,
you had to hit it straight every time, or else you're whoop.
Every lap, I'm like, all right, I'm going to jump over that one and skip it. And it was like, I couldn't get enough traction, or I couldn't get the angle to do it. And I was just tiptoeing my way through that whole, there was no way there was anybody slower than me through that section.
I want to know how much they're going to change that track for Tuesday.
I've been told they're flipping it around. Is that true?
Yeah. It looks like a complete reversal, and like everything's basically the exact same, just going the other direction.
So we're going to have 3 massive doubles again?
Yeah, it looked like they made 1 or 2 of them triple.
Oh, okay.
Well, they've already done this, huh?
Do they have a track
today?
Hopefully it's a little drier, or
yeah, that's no joke.
At least moist.
Yo, when it was raining in qualifying, so like we were getting ready to go up, it hadn't rained at all, and then we get off, or middle of our qualifier starts raining, and I'm like, of course. We come off, and then it starts like downpouring. I knew seed practice was screwed. And then after seed practice, it rained for probably 45 minutes straight or something like that. I immediately was like, not only is the track screwed, I was like, I bet it's going to be screwed for Tuesday too. Like I was like, we're going to be racing the same track. So for like the way it turned around much better than I was expecting.
Yeah. And every time I'm like, all right, it's going to be a complete mutter. And then by the time the main comes around, it's like, oh, this track's pretty good. Was it still really slippery in the main? It seemed like it was still deceivingly slippery.
Honestly, everywhere, the whole track was not bad. Like, I'm trying to think of, the finish line, jumps after that. Like, yeah, those turning rollers were a little bit sketchy, but they always were. Pretty good traction everywhere else. The biggest things were the whoops. Like, the whoops were that's where I sucked the most also. So, like, I'll take that right on the head too. So it was just tricky because there were ruts in them at the beginning. And at the end, there wasn't as many ruts. But, like, when you're coming in, whether you can just sack up and go over the ruts at the beginning to continue skimming, like, I just ended up doubling all the way through them. And that's what really hurt me as well. So, like, the track and all was pretty spectacular compared to what conditions we were given. But the whoops just were tough. And I did not excel in those.
I don't think anyone would agree with you more than
Yeah.
Cameron McAdoo, Garrett Marchbanks,
Yeah.
every 250 rider. Now, as far as 250s go in the whoops, do you guys think it was a bike power issue or I mean, we've talked about the lack of whoops coming up into Supercross these days. What do you guys think about how difficult it appeared for the 250s compared to the 450s?
I think, at least for me, what I was watching is it was just a matter of those whoops were really freaking slippery. So if you tried to jump through them, your only real option was to double. I don't think I saw anybody triple unless they tripled out. And skimming, it was just really slippery. And McAdoo just goes for it. So McAdoo is making mistakes left and right. I'm surprised we didn't see more screw ups in the whoops. Honestly, skimming in our time qualifier, I was all over the place.
Yeah, because it just started raining, and not only were they hard and like they were dry slippery, but then after you get that concrete looking lines all the way across and then you get some water on it, yeah, it definitely got slippery quick.
Yeah.
So, I would have to say, go ahead.
The guys I saw making mistakes are typically good whoop riders. It was just they were
slippery.
They were just it was just the conditions, I think.
Yeah. But like the difference between 250 and 450, like that's one thing I've really loved about the 450 is you can come out, in third or whatever, and your bike has enough grunt, I guess we can call it, to get up and go a little bit quicker. And then you can kind of just like stay steady because the 450 has enough power to, let's say, launch you from one whoop to the other, right? Well, the 250, like you can come in like a bat out of hell and you have to clutch coming out of it and try to get as much momentum as you can. But you just seem to run out of power in the middle of them. Like your bike doesn't have enough torque, I guess, to toss you from one to another. Like you can actually gain speed on a 450. Not these last whoops because these two whoops were tough, but normally. So like I thought the second set. So after you come back by the mechanics area, jump over that tabletop, like you have momentum. So like those weren't bad, for instance, like in qualifying. But like the first set of whoops in qualifying, dude, I would come in decent. And the last four whoops, I would be rolling them pretty much because I would just lose my momentum. So the biggest thing going from 250 to 450, probably really tough for the 250 dudes.
All right, when it goes back to the other coast, are you sticking with the 450 at this point? Or are you going back
No, I'm gonna go back just because like I'm 1 point out of 10th in points in the East Coast. So
nice.
My goal is to try to get back into the 250 racing and then, try to get into that top 10 in points by the end of it. So my goal is to go back to 250. I mean, for sure, obviously the East Coast round I'm going to do, and then I'm already good enough in points where I'll be seated into the East-West shootout. But I see myself on the 250. I don't see myself going 450 for those last two rounds, considering I can be on the 250, and that's kind of my primary focus.
So you have two more, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
so we have
Salt Lake.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. What year is this for you in Supercross? Second year?
This is technically my sophomore like full season. So I did Supercross in 2019, but I broke my tib fib in the off season. So I didn't get to come back, and my very first race ever Supercross was Daytona in 2019. So at that point, I only got to do 4 Supercrosses that year. So like, I guess you could say it's my junior season, but I don't really count that first one. Like I barely got into it. I came off of a broken leg and had 2 weeks on the bike and then got into it. So I would have to say it's my sophomore legit season.
And how did you do last year? Did you make
I think I made 5 mains. I think I made 5 mains out of the 9 races. And then this year obviously stepped it up from there. It's been pretty badass.
What was your
This your
best
fir-
finish
Oh,
last
sorry.
year? Sorry, Bryce.
13th. 13th was my best finish in, I think it was the round right before the East-West shootout in Salt Lake. I ended up 13th. And then my first finish was 13th at Houston 1. And I had 5 days on the bike before, like, of supercross riding period, since we had gotten done with outdoors, just because I had a whole backstory of how everything just kind of one thing after another in the off season. And then my best finish this year is a 7th.
Nice. That's impressive. And there's been an obvious, it's interesting for me to watch, because you can see guys, and I know I've been doing this long enough to like, I know like what's happening in people's heads.
Yeah.
What was that shift, or when, not what, because I kind of know when was that shift of like, holy crap, I'm doing this. Like I have that confidence. Like when did that happen?
If I'm going to be really honest, when I was coming into Houston 1, because I was trying to figure out, like, do I want to go west? Do I want to go east? Like, what do I want to do? Because I knew I wanted to do 450 rounds on the ones that I wasn't going to do my 250 coast. And I just kind of came to the conclusion that I was like, things kind of got sprung up quick. They switched east and then west and then back. And then, like, I knew like everything was kind of a shit show a little bit. So I was like, there's probably going to be more. And I was thinking realistic. Like I think realistic, right? Obviously I want to be a championship contender at some point in my career, but I knew I wasn't really top 5 material yet. Right. So I'm not worried about, obviously the first coast is going to probably have the heavy hitters, because they're ready to go. They're going to keep racing. Right. So I'm like, all right, they're going to have a gnarly top 5 to top 10, but I'm thinking, who's going to have less of the 7th place to 15th place guys? I'm thinking East Coast, because all these B-level ride teams or whatever are going to need to push to get more time to prepare and get their teams together. So I was like, all right, well, I'll go East Coast. And I had 5 days of prep. So I was sitting there thinking like, dude, I'm about to get waxed, because I have had 0 time on the bike pretty much. I felt good, but I just knew my conditioning really wasn't there, because it's different when you're on the bike than trying to just cycle and do gym stuff. So came in, got 13th right off the rip. And I was like, all right, like we're in this, you know what I mean? So and that was my career best from the season before. So I was like, shit, round 1, tied it. All right, let's go. And then round 2 ended up getting taken out in the LCQ after I was winning it, and took myself out, got back up in 5th, came back up to 4th, and then just got completely wrecked. So it's kind of like a shell shock, like, all right, like you're not completely there yet. And then came out in the next one and did really good. I think I top 10 for the first time ever. And then so after I top 10, I think I got 9th in Houston 3. And then I was like, all right, like it's game on, because my starts were good at that point. Whole shot of the LCQ, I'm pretty sure, was always right there with like Moseman and Forkner and those guys. Like even like Houston 2, like me and Austin went down in the start, because like we were both going for it. So like it's honestly just a confidence thing when it came from cracking that top 10 first. And I'd always known I'm a good starter. I was even a good starter last year. But I think this year, like, say Webb lines up right next to me, like I don't care. Like I know I'm gonna get the jump. Yeah, they may beat me down the straightaway, but like I have a lot of confidence in my starts, and that's what I said. Like starts are 80% probably mental. So like having a good mental focus, me building my own program with the Patreon stuff that you probably know about and stuff, like I'm in a lot better headspace this year than I was last year.
Sorry, Bryce, I know you probably got questions stacked up over there.
It's all right.
Does your confidence on the start line alter based on how you're riding the track that day? Or
no, 0. Like I could suck on the track, and I know that start is mine. You know what I mean? Like I have a lot of confidence when it comes to that fact, and I'll know like, okay, so say I start 1st, 3rd, 5th, whatever. If I get wrecked on the track, if I get whooped, it's whatever. But I know like I can put myself in a good position pretty consistently.
See, that's what I need, a little bit of that mindset, because my starts, I can be a really good starter, but only when
you feel confident on the track.
Yeah, because in my head, I'm like, I talk myself out of getting a good start, because I'm like, oh, I didn't do this rhythm, or oh, I'm a little slow here, and I'm like, well,
so you'd be worried about getting in front of the people that are hitting that.
Yeah.
Well, that's also what I was going to mention to Kevin was I really, really like that attitude that you have. Like you don't care if it's Webb next to you.
Yeah.
My co-host, he'll get in front of somebody and he'll start thinking I shouldn't be in front of him. And like, but that's, and I've told him so many times, so many people have told him, that's the attitude you need. You need to just say, I don't give a fuck who's next to me.
Yeah.
Just, you got to do you. Like,
Yeah.
you don't owe anybody anything. And if it's not going to be you, it's going to be them or
So
somebody.
like that was the experience I had when I obviously made my first 450 main. Like coming in, I don't know if I've already said this, but coming in, my goal from coming into the 450 class, I have what, 6-7 rounds. I don't know how many it is before I have to go back east. But I was like, my main goal is to make one main event. Like I think that's realistic. I think I have the skill to do that. So as soon as I got into the first main event on my second ever race on the 450, I was like, this is badass. Like I was kind of obviously stoked. And then I'm going up to the line. And I'm like, dude, I'm about to race Roxon, Webb, Tomac, like all the guys I've literally been watching on TV since I was a little kid, like since I was 10 years old. So I'm like, this is about to be wild. Like I was really excited and everything. So then when I took off and I damn near whole shotted the main event and I was right behind Wilson, I was shell shocked, to be honest. I was like, dude, I have Bam Bam Barsha, I have Tomac, Roxon, Webb, everybody's behind me. I'm like, shit my pants, to be honest. And so like that first experience is something I needed to get that under my belt, because I pretty much rode like a pussy in that round, because I was like kind of like the way you were kind of saying, like you're thinking about like, okay, like Barsha should be in front of me, Tomac should be in front of me. So I was like almost letting people pass me. And that was the biggest mindset change that I had from round one to that round to the next round, because I made the main event again when my motor ended up blowing up. But I got a iffy start, probably 10th, but I ran top 12, top 15 for 8 minutes or something like that. And I didn't let people pass me like I did the first one. So like it just comes from a lot, honestly, from experience, and then just like believing in yourself. Like that's the biggest thing when it comes to like taking your program to the next level is, yeah, you can't give a shit about the people. Like you can't give a shit about Webb or what they have going on. Like if they beat you, they beat you. You can't do anything about that, but you can just focus on yourself and just kind of try to race yourself, I guess is the best way to put it.
Man, it's just because at our level, everyone's skill is pretty close, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have a couple guys you could think of off the top of your head that maybe skill level wise they're slightly above others.
Yeah.
Fitness, everyone's pretty close. It's the mental game. It's absolutely everything. And I know that, I recognize that, and I know like how I should be thinking. And it's very, very hard for me to, I don't know why. And I've always
Yeah.
struggled with that, because there's been years where I've been really, and obviously this year, like in the last few years, I've had so much focus elsewhere and on my business that like I don't ride, I just show up. So like,
yeah,
I kind of know what to expect. But even in the years that I was ultra prepared and super fit, I still struggled, man. I would line up and just like look around and talk myself out of it. And
kind of get starstruck to an extent.
Yeah, but there was no reason to, because
Yeah.
I don't know how old you are, but I grew up racing and I was really fast in my amateur days. I grew up racing with every single top guy and beating most of them. And then I don't know when that shift happened in my head, but also like I look around, I see a name on a jersey, and like I just assume that they belong in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 21, by the way.
Oh, you're only 21.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you were, holy cow. Were you big in like, did you do the amateur stuff big time?
Yeah.
Or?
So like I was in kind of like that mindset when I would go to amateurs, because like I was always racing like guys like Cantrell, like Jordan Bailey a little bit. I think he was a little bit older than me. But like those kinds of guys, and like when you show up to the amateur races, and like it's a little bit different now because I know like we're all at this level, but as amateurs, like you know that they're the talk of everything, right? And that's one thing I kind of enjoy about like the professional level is you can make a statement a lot easier than you can in amateurs, because I think we don't have to get into that, but I think the amateurs stuff is kind of like skewed nowadays. Like when it comes to like Loretta's, like they kind of have their guys coming in. So unless you go out and win everything, like you're not really getting noticed. Because that was my problem in amateurs is I did the Loretta's thing. I went to the Loretta's 7 times in my amateur career or whatever. And, you know, I think out of the 7 times I had 5 top 10 finishes, but I had, you know, those were 10th to 7th or 6th, whatever. I never had any podiums, never had any, you know, anything like that. So I was always behind, you know, the top 5 factory dudes. And then I was kind of in the mix of whoever's next. And I just continuously kind of got looked over. So that's really all, like my upbringing, kind of give you a little bit backstory about me, because I know you said you didn't really know anything about me.
Yeah.
So I went through like the public school. Like I went all the way through public school. I didn't get ripped out to go train or anything like that. So like even wrestled freshman year and played varsity football all 4 years and everything. So like lived more of like a normal life, but we did Loretta's every year. That was all we ever did because that's all we could really like afford. And we knew that was the biggest national. So we never did like Mammoth, Mini O's. We never did any of that stuff. So we did one qualifier, one regional, and then Loretta's every year. And obviously like I was pretty consistent and fortunate enough to get good starts back then and stuff like that too. And I would put myself into good spots in the regionals to get in on the first go instead of doing 3 regionals like kids do now. But so yeah, kind of just came from a normal background. As soon as I graduated at semester a little bit early so I could kind of start my motocross career, I guess you could say, and focus it on a little bit more. So as soon as I graduated, started traveling and pretty much went straight into Amsoil Arena Cross to kind of build my pro name there. And that actually went really, really well for me. And that's kind of where I built my name. And then along with doing, because I got my associate's degree online as well. So like the next 2 years of my professional career, I did that. So recently graduated with that and then just kind of been clicking away, you know, from a normal background instead of like the kid that's got everything handed to him and trains all year round and everything like that. So like, that's where I have a lot of pride in everything that I'm building right now is because like, dude, it's been all on me. My website, my Patreon, everything has been 100% built by me. So like, I take a lot of pride in it, I guess is the best way to put it.
Dude,
that's awesome.
That is really you're super underrated, Dan. I mean, okay, Brett, real quick, because I just have a million things based on what you just said.
Yeah.
Bryce, do you know where Kevin's from?
No, I don't.
I don't either. Can I guess before you tell us?
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be like Midwest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Ohio.
Kansas.
But you don't have an Ohio accent.
Kansas.
Okay.
Oh, very close. Okay.
Yeah,
good guess.
yeah, you're pretty close. But like, yeah, so like that's one thing that I'm, like I said, like I have a lot of pride on my stuff is because when I graduated high school and continued into the pro scene and whatnot at like 16 or I think it was 17, like my parents pretty much sat me down because they were trying to help my brother go to college at that point too. And they're like, you know, we're 100% behind you, but financially, like we can't really do it. So that's why ever since 17 years old, like I've been funding my program pretty much by myself. Like my parents do help me with like they do the phone bill and the insurance and stuff like that still, but like motorcycles, everything, travels, sponsorship, hotels, you know, everything that goes into my program is 100% pretty much been paid for and marketed by me since I was 17. So like, that's why it's pretty cool to like continue to build and actually see some pretty good progress this year.
AJ, is it like talking to a time
myself?
capsule? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And he's even more so, maybe even a step ahead because let's say maybe I had it slightly easier because I was homeschooled I finished freshman year of public school and then I got homeschooled after that. So that would have put me at like 15.
Yeah.
And then it was sort of same situation. So at 15 years old, I was about to turn 16. My dad goes, we're out of money. Like we can't continue to do this. Your only option is to go pro and try to make it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I had a friend that was going down to live at MTF. So I hopped in his motorhome and went to MTF with an 09 KX450 that had 200 hours on it. And luckily, Colleen Millsaps took a liking to me and let me ride for free. And then Josh Woods took a liking to me and let me ride for free across the fence at GPF.
Yeah.
So I was riding both places for free at 16 with, I think my dad was giving me $200 a week. He was wiring me $200 a week to live off of for that first like 2 months. And then I got the Babbitt's Arena Cross ride. I ended up winning the championship in Arena Cross that year. And then I was just figuring my stuff out. Like I turned pro at Supercross when I was 16 still. And then like with zero funding from anybody. And dude, you're going to be you already are, but you're going to be light years ahead of everybody. Okay. I'm trying to manage your thoughts here because this gets me a little excited. Although
no, I'm the same way.
I almost shouldn't have you at my class on Wednesday because now you're gonna figure out this whole piece of the puzzle.
breeding some competition.
Yeah, I know.
Continue. You're young. So
Yeah.
continue down the route of really focusing on results.
Yeah.
Because you have a short window to make that happen and like make that happen. But I think you're smart enough to realize like that support and money don't necessarily come from results at all. I've been able to make a really good living at this, more so than maybe even most of the guys in the top 10 for the last few years. And I don't even make main events.
Yeah.
I mean, so you've learned a lot at a young age because you were put in a situation where you just had to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And there's so many people in the sport that do it the exact opposite, where their parents stay with them their whole careers and they're babied.
Well, it's like that old adage, man. It's like teach a man to fish and you could feed him for a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just giving him a fish. I mean, that to be able to rely on yourself and have to figure it all out, that's an invaluable thing.
Like I have been asked, can you guys still see me kind of decent? Obviously. It's
yeah.
All right. I've been asked several times, like, do you wish, like, obviously as a kid, when you're showing up to the amateur races, the regionals and stuff like that, and you see all these kids in the huge buses and like 4 bikes, and like, honestly, that's a mental game in its own. When you pull up and you see a homie with 4 bikes that look factory exactly the same, all modded out, you're like, what's going on? So like, I've been asked a lot, like, do you wish you had that and everything? I was like, at the time, 100%. But looking back on it, like, if I had 100 times to do it over, I would not change a single thing, because it's created like a hunger inside of me to like obviously continue to build and work for myself, honestly, continue to kind of be an entrepreneur while racing, and like knowing that I have to sell pretty much like my brand myself and then continue working my butt off to be able to get to the next race, instead of just being like, hey dad, like, can you just Venmo me or PayPal me, or like like you said, like wire me $5,000 so I can go train and get to the races and buy these parts and get a hotel, sign up, do my entry fee, pay for my COVID test. Like I can go down the list. Like, you know what it is all about. So like, to be forced out of the comfort zone of knowing that you got to find support and get creative to get support, or else you're not getting to the next race, is honestly what a lot of the kids in our sport need. Because like when they're, like you said, babied from, until they're our age racing pro, and then say they don't have the best results, their parents are kind of like, well, this is a waste of time. And then the kid doesn't know completely how to fund it on their own. So then they're kind of screwed. And then they're probably already been pulled out of school. They've already done, some weird stuff like that. So like, independence is honestly, and time management is the best thing to learn as a kid / coming in as a young adult. And that's like, I wouldn't change it for anything.
So I look at like the Deegans, and I'm just so anxious to see how Danger Boy Deegan stacks up, and when he gets up to the big bikes and we start seeing him on TV and pro races. Like the amount of resources that somebody like that has at their disposal, just indiscriminate, like bikes, just huge money everywhere. Like they damn well better be championship level right off the rip.
You want to know why I think the kid's going to be good? I don't know him at all. I don't have any backstory or anything. I've seen some videos of like him and the fairy kid going back and forth, the drama that they have. But the only reason why I think that he may end up being good, and if he can like keep it together mentally, because that's another big thing with kids nowadays, is the way that he's riding Supercross on a Super Mini in 85 right now. Like I honestly contribute a lot of my cat and mouse game skill from 2 things. Pretty much. So like when I was a kid, or we were going through high school and everything, I had a pit bike and my brother had a pit bike, and we had a little pit bike track. And every day pretty much we would play like the cutoff game, like where we would put helmets on and everything, and we would purposely cut each other off like in every corner. Like it was a fun game for us. So like that comes a lot into like muscle memory of like brake sliding and cutting down and trying to find new lines to get around somebody. And then obviously from like the Hoosier Arena Cross stuff. So like the little smaller arena crosses that aren't Supercross level, but they're still pretty legit, is just the experience from that builds into what we can do in Supercross now.
And he's had such a head start when it comes to having a Supercross track. But like staying on that topic, you can make a great living at the sport just with results. But actually, matter of fact, I had a conversation with somebody the morning of the race this weekend, and they were talking about how Star Racing, the way that these teams are bringing in riders so young and so many of them and expecting so much of them, and this has been going on for a little while, that if they don't absolutely murder it, if they're not top 3, like top 5, they're gone after that first year, and then what? Then they're screwed.
Yeah.
And we had that conversation. We were talking about Star specifically, and we're talking about like Thrasher, and I don't know half these kids' names, Fry, and then Thrasher goes out and just wins out of absolutely nowhere. But
yeah,
they have nothing to kind of go back on. If I could give you any advice, what I would say is go all in, because you're smart enough to figure it out. Don't try to think of a backup plan. I don't know if you even are, if that's even in your mind. I know for me, I had a lot of people in my ear when I was 17, 18, 19 years old saying, well, what are you going to do after racing? Or how are you going to make a living? Is this just for fun? And I think a little bit of that was fine, because it did make me think and get creative with stuff, but just go all in, because there is a way, if you find it, to make a living out of this sport no matter what. You're smart enough, it sounds like, to do it. And don't try to create a plan B for no reason at all.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Also, you're only 21. Like, don't think that it's going to happen overnight. This has been something that I struggle with. Is I train, and then that season didn't go my way, and I was like, oh well. Then the next 2 years would be screwed, because I wouldn't try hard enough, because the 1 year I did try, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And it's like, it felt like it took an accumulation of 6 or 7 years of putting in endless amounts of work to finally everything started falling in place.
Yeah.
And I do believe, and you hear like famous people say this and stuff, like if you just simply have a vision and just work hard for it, almost like blindly to some extent, that it will all work out no matter what. I really believe that's true. Like, because all of your stuff is at the early stages. You're doing the same things that I was 4 or 5 years ago. And it might be hard to get sponsor money now from certain people, and you're scraping together $1,000 here, $500 here, $300 here. That, if you keep on that route, it won't be like that for long. You'll be able to like really make something of this.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So like, going back on what you said, like finding out a plan B or whatever. So like, that's why I ended up going to get my associate's degree online while racing or whatever. That was kind of out of a semi like a backup plan. Like I still wanted to go to school, because I graduated high school with like a 4.13 GPA. So like I was doing well enough I can get like scholarships and stuff. So I moved right into just continuing my education, because I have an associate's degree, which obviously doesn't really get you a whole lot, I don't think. But I have that 60 credit hours that can transfer to a bachelor's eventually when I want to. But honestly, like you said, like I'm honestly, like you said, 100% all in on racing, because like even just the past 6 months of everything that I've been doing and building for myself and the marketing and stuff that I've done, like I've had so many people reach out in the industry, like saying like, whenever you're done racing, call me. You know what I mean? Like little stuff like that. So that, and then also like, I would say that I kind of have a pretty good mindset when it comes to like what I want to do afterwards. And I really think I would enjoy like flipping houses and real estate and stuff like that, which that's not 100% something that you can go into school and learn. That's more something you just kind of got to have like a good mentor or somebody that's in it and kind of teach you. So like when it comes to me being worried about my future.
Are we talking to me? Bryce,
yeah.
I know it's kind of creepy, isn't it? The similarities are pretty wild.
So like worrying about a backup plan right now is 100% not an issue for me, because like I'm motocross, my career, whatever it is it's going to be. And I can't really like try to put an end date on it or control where it's going to go. And I know, say it's done today, like, which obviously would suck and I would hate that, but you know, I have a lot of drive and obviously motivation to kind of work hard. So like, I have no problem believing that I'm going to be successful in whatever I kind of put my mind to.
What are your goals for racing? Sorry.
I mean,
yeah, you want to get a championship? Is that something in your head?
Yeah,
or you?
Yeah, I mean, I want to like my real goal getting into racing was I want to just be a professional supercross racer. And then when I got into supercross and I started doing good, well, the Amsoil Arena Cross, and I started crushing it there, I was like, all right, this is legit. So then it went to, you know, podiums and wins in the Arena Cross, and that started happening. So then it went to getting into Supercross and then getting top 10s. And then now it's like, I think it's going to continue moving. But like, yes, realistically, like I want to be fighting for a championship. I want to be on a podium and I want to have a factory ride. Like that's realistically a goal that I have. And I think I can get there. But obviously, yeah, it just takes time. It's not going to happen overnight.
I struggled to make that mindset shift a little bit because I've always had the goal of being a pro rider when I was young.
Yeah.
But that was my goal, to be a professional dirt bike rider.
Yeah.
And Bryce and I have talked about this many times. If you had asked Tomac that question, Barsha that question, any of those guys that question when they were 7, 8, 12, 13 years old, they would have said, I want to be the best professional Supercross rider. I want to be a Supercross champion. And I always kind of say like my goal was set too low. And by the time I realized that, it's never too late to make that mental shift, but it was almost too late for me because it was so hard for me to make that goal and to think that it was realistic and believe that it was realistic.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're 100% like you're incrementally like making those mindset shifts, like a little bit at a time, and you're fully believing it. So technically, as long as you fully believe it, that's all that matters. In my head, I was like, can I win a Supercross championship? Nah.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Where I probably could have if, in 2012, 2013, if I had believed that I could have, I probably could have in the next 3 or 4 years or been darn close and got a factory ride. And in my head, I just, for some reason, I could never believe that.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because in so many other aspects of my life, I believe that I'm completely unstoppable.
Yeah. And like, I kind of would have to agree with that to an extent, like just my upbringing and, you know, not having everything handed to me and everything. Like I had to think I have to be realistic, right? Like I'm not going to go win a championship. I'm not going to go win, you know, Tuesday's race. But like I said, like you have to kind of make it incremental or whatever. I can't even say the word, but, you know, realistic instead of saying, hey, like, you know, Tuesday goal's top 5. If we don't get top 5, I'm gonna be pissed. Like that's a stupid goal. You know what I mean? But, you know, top 15 is a realistic goal. So let's get there. As soon as we get there, then we'll fight for the top 10. And then, you know what I mean? I'll be back on 250s by then. But, you know, it's just, yeah, like you said, like trying to believe and just knowing that as long as you keep chipping away, you'll get closer and closer, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. And another small piece of advice, I'm sure you're sick of hearing it already. Be careful, like only making, and you're smart enough to know this, be careful making your goals just like a numeric, like a number.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, because your riding could be absolutely spectacular one night and that could be 6th place in the LCQ.
Yeah.
Your riding then the other night could be like, I rode decent, but I feel like I have more in the tank, and you could be 18th in the main event.
Yeah.
Like, especially nowadays with the influx of riders coming in and out due to injuries and just like how stacked it always is. I'm sure you know this. Just my goal is always just try, like leave it all out on the freaking track and that's it. And that's always like when I ride the best. Do you struggle at all with like arm pump or anything like that or no?
Yes and no, like kind of depends. Like I'm always better. I get better throughout the night, I guess is the best way to put it. So like qualifying 1 or free practice, like I'll usually pump up and then I'll get just a little bit less. Obviously it comes with comfortability too. I used to, but honestly, like now that you say that, like I don't have to say like this season, I haven't really had a problem with it. The biggest thing is just like when you're 17 laps into a 450 main event, like it's just straight fatigue. It's not so much just like, it's like body fatigue, everything. It's not just my arms are locked up. You know what I mean?
AJ, are you still getting it pretty bad this season?
Yeah. Bad. And when you say you get it, like, are you like, my arms were a little tight, or are you like, oh my god, I can't feel my hands, like I'm gonna fly?
No, like I've had it to the point where like you can't turn because you can't move your arms the right way. You know what I mean? Like just because they're locked up. But I haven't had that this season. I've had it in the past, but yeah, not this season.
What do you do for training off the bike? What's your kind of gym routine? You mentioned cycling before.
Yeah, so like I work with Drew Whitehead. So he's based out of Tallahassee, and dude, honestly, like it's nothing super crazy because of like my schedule and he knows all the little things that I'm building and I have going on. So it's like, and AJ, 100%, I guarantee you know that like you're kind of working from sun up to sundown some days. So it's just a lot of if I can ride, that's awesome. But obviously, as a traveling privateer and not having a training facility that I'm at, it's tough. And you just ride whenever you can. And then other than that, it's just like core stuff and cardio. It's just a bunch of cardio.
You mostly bike for cardio, or you mix it up?
I enjoy cycling a lot more than I do anything else. Like I'm not a really big runner, but like I'll do the ski, I'll do the stair machine and stuff like that at the gym. But it's a lot more enjoyable to be outside for cardio for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Are you careful with upper body workouts, or do you avoid them altogether?
So that's one thing I struggled with when I came out of high school, because like playing football for 4 years, you're lifting like a football, like it's not what you need to be doing for racing. You know what I mean? That's one thing my coaches always get pissed about, is I would like stop like lifting like I need to be like 2 weeks before Loretta's every year. Cause like I'd be like that's one thing I like about myself though too, is I'm not the tallest guy. I'm pretty medium size. I'm decent. I'm like good size for racing, I guess is the best way to put it. But I'm pretty much 5'9" on a good day. And but like I'm built a little bit better than a lot of racers. A lot of racers are like not like lanky, a little bit scrawny, but like I have a good base, I guess you could say, just from like being in football and doing that for 4 years. Like I'm a little bit more stout, I guess is the best way to put it. So like I think that's honestly contributing to why I'm riding the 450 well, is because I can realistically kind of handle it, and I think that's helped me in my career as well.
Yeah,
But
see,
I completely just got off track there. But I did struggle with like my arms always pumping up, because like I don't want to say they were too big, but like that's the kind of lifting I was doing. So nowadays, like I don't do any upper body workouts unless it's like the shoulder, like I work shoulders, but I don't do curls and shit like that.
do you do push-ups?
Yeah, like body weight stuff. So like it's anything like core, like plank, push-ups, pull-ups sometimes. But like I don't focus on that because I know that that's pretty stout already. Like the biggest thing is just like trying to wear myself out like long term, not doing anything heavy. Obviously, I think anybody that races know that heavy is not the way to go.
Well, you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't. I mean, maybe some of our listeners even don't. There's so many people that ask me and are doing so many of the wrong things. And I'm like, listen, everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's bodies and, genetic makeup is a little bit different. For me, I don't do push-up. I don't do a pull-up. I don't do a single thing, because as soon as I do, I start to put on muscle and I get the freaking arm pump like you wouldn't believe. Like,
yeah, exactly.
AJ and I used to train at the same gym, and I remember having a discussion with him. You remember I crashed and I took the bark buster and I thought I lacerated my liver. Do you remember that whole situation?
Yeah. Was this at Wow Fitness in Middletown, or were we?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're like, "How did you crash?" I was like, "Dude, I got whiskey throttle so bad that I pumped up so bad that I couldn't feel anything, and I just whiskey throttled, looped out, crashed, whatever. I don't even remember." But you're like, "Yep, that's why I don't lift. That's why I don't do any arms, because I was on a pull up bar at the time, and that was when I was lifting heavy, and I was like, that was my goal, is to get bigger, lift heavy, and I was pulling up, and I had just had this crash, and you're like, yeah, dude, don't lift. And you were going to do like I don't know, calf raises or something.
No, but I've been guilty of, because I enjoy going to the gym and lifting weights. I think it's fun. But it does not work for me. Holy cow. Like I'm the arm pump champ, man. I get it so bad. I can't feel anything. And on the 450, that gets scary, because, it's a fine line between tripling something and quadding something. Like it doesn't take but a quarter turn of that throttle and you're going 50 feet too far.
That's no joke.
So Kevin, how have you like really adapted to the 450, and has it been a challenge to go back to the 250, or have you gone back to the 250?
So I've rode the 250 a couple times, but when it comes to overall my riding style, so like I don't know, you guys probably clearly have no real know what my past is about in the last couple years through the last year through Supercross and whatnot. But I'm never good at qualifying, so I'm never like the downright fastest dude on the track. At least hopefully I'll get there at some point. But I can race really well. Like that, like I said, that cat and mouse game, figuring out, just being smart, making good decisions, and being consistent. Like I'm a very consistent rider. but I'm not a real just get balls to the walls sketchy. So when it comes to being on a 250 to 450, the 450 suits me honestly better because you can roll on the throttle. You can, actually use your momentum a little bit better without stressing about it. On a 250, you got to be balls to the walls and you got to stress about it a little bit because you got to have that momentum or else you're not getting the 3 out of the corner. You know what I mean? So like it's good and I can kind of manhandle the 250 a little bit, but also I can semi manhandle the 450 and I can actually control the power better because I'm a very consistent rider, like I said. But it's just easier for me to flow on the 450 than it is the 250 compared to other riders, I guess is the best way to put it. So personally, I like the 450 better, and I think that's where I'll kind of probably continue to excel.
Do you ride outdoors?
Yes.
And
I raced. Go ahead.
Do you do you consider yourself a supercross specialist? Do you like outdoors equally as much, more?
So one thing that I've kind of prided myself on a little bit too is I'm good at supercross because I'm good at being consistent and, I'm a good jumper, I guess the best way to put it. So like the technical stuff I like. So I excel in it for that reason. And then I excel in outdoors too. Yeah, I may not be the fastest dude on the track yet, but going through football for 4 years and going through the suffering of practice and stuff like that, like mentally, a lot of these kids don't have that. They're just kind of pampered and thrown out of training facility and stuff like that in racing. So I have a lot more grit than a lot of other guys, I guess is the best way to put it. So like I can suffer better is the best way to put it. So like when you're, 20 to 25 to getting to that 30-minute mark in the motos and people are just dragging their tongue, like it sucks and it's painful and it's like suffering, but I can suffer better than other people. So like I end up excelling. So I don't know. I'm kind of the best of both worlds, but I would have to say I personally like supercross better because everybody races motocross. Everybody grows up racing motocross. It's a lot easier to just send it on an outdoor track than it is to send it on a supercross track.
Bryce, once again, it sounds like I'm talking to me 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Cause I've never considered myself super, super fast.
Yeah.
And outdoors especially. And I've had years where I've done really well outdoors, but what it was is I freaking loved suffering. I loved it. Yeah. I loved like feeling like I was going to die of heat exhaustion. And like the last 3 or 4 laps, I would go from 25th to 18th every single time. Like it was just every time I knew that was going to happen. I would just ride around and wait until everyone got tired. And I always say, like, I wish Supercross had 30+2s because
I know, for real.
I'd be in business. Like, cause I'm slow. I don't go that fast, but I could just keep going at that pace forever.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny that you said that.
Yeah.
Now do you have plans for outdoors this coming year?
So I've only ever, and that's what's kind of surprising too, is like, I've never raced a 450 before until I started racing 450s here. So like I never raced 450 outdoors and I've always raced a 250 until I wanted to start racing the 450 Supercross. So last year raced the 250 class, and this year, like, honestly, I'll probably end up in the 450 class and outdoors is kind of what I'm thinking, just with the way I'm riding the bike right now and I'm enjoying it. And one, it's going to be a little bit easier on me to have a competitive 450 than a competitive 250. I can pretty much just leave the bike the way it is and still try to rip hole shots and ride good laps. So, no, I'll probably end up on the 450 this year unless something crazy changes, but that's kind of my plan this year, at least.
You go 450. Do you have like financial backing for outdoors?
Don't really have, like, I have a lot of, so it's tough to explain. I think you could probably kind of vouch for this, but like, it's different when it comes to Supercross and outdoors. A lot of the main people that I have behind me are going to be behind me all year. But when it comes to like actual dollars amount that I have coming in, I have not really a whole lot of ideas. But, I have some people, but I don't have anybody like crazy that's, factory ride style. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you thought about this, but like you could do maybe a title sponsor at each location throughout the season. Have you seen
the helmet wraps that I do?
What'd you say, AJ?
Do you know, Bryce, he does this already, right?
No, I didn't. I was just messing with you again.
No,
so I do helmet. Oh, I do helmet wraps, different helmet wrap for a different company at every round.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. That was AJ's idea. So good job stealing that.
Oh, do you have that idea?
Yeah, I did this years and years ago, dude. That's what I'm telling you. You're
mini AJ. Or actually, you're probably bigger than AJ.
I didn't even know that.
Keep on it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You got a head start on me because I didn't start figuring that out until 23 or 24. And you're what, 21?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. How old are you right now?
27.
27?
Yeah. Yeah, the title sponsor or whatever you want to call it at each round, that's a smart move because it's much easier to find 17 sponsors that are giving you $1,500 as opposed to one sponsor that's giving you 40 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's always how I looked at it. I was doing a whole bike different each weekend, which was
that
huge
would be tough.
Oh, it sucked. So what ended up happening, dude, you're going to laugh at this, is I would get so lazy with it because I just didn't have time that I would just slap the graphics on top of each other each weekend. So like 7 rounds in, I had 7 graphics piled up on top of each other.
Oh my goodness.
Dude, night before a Supercross race, pulling old graphics off, sticking new ones on.
So like, yeah, I had the same kind of concept, like which Monarch Heavy Haul is the biggest one on my bike right now. And like, they've been probably my biggest supporter the past 2 years. But I thought about that. But then I was thinking, I was like, well, like nobody really, I don't want to just bring one person in each weekend that means more to me than him, right? So I wanted to keep him on the bike. And I was thinking like, dude, even if I did that, like, I don't want to have to be doing graphics every single weekend. Like, because unless you get brand new plastics every weekend, which doesn't always happen for privateers, it sucks to rip graphics off, brake clean it, get all the gooey crap off, and then put it all on and then put it on the bike, whatever. So that's where the helmet wrap idea kind of came in place for me last year, right before Supercross started, because I knew I needed something that was going to help me get my flights and hotels covered for every round, or like my travel when I was driving to the race covered every round. And the helmet was easy because I would work with Fly, whether I would get a new helmet every weekend or just peel the stickers off and put new ones on. And Bike Graphics actually ended up, which is the graphics company I go through, took the helmet. I took them a helmet and they personally designed a wrap just to fit the Fly helmet because nobody had one. And that has been honestly a lifesaver for my program this year.
In the helmet wrap is like probably one of the most, if not the most important spot. Everyone can see the helmet, almost more so. Yeah. So that's always an easy sell. Like the helmet is for sure an easy sell. Do you do anything other than, Instagram, Facebook, basic stuff like that? Do you have a YouTube channel or anything?
So that's one thing I'm going to talk to you about when we do our little school, is I want to kind of pick your brain on that, because I do, and I did some like vlog stuff when I went over to Germany and raced before COVID hit. So this would have been 2019 because last year it all got canceled. And I really love doing that. And dude, like, I honestly like truly enjoy it. Like, I enjoy everything that I do with the racing and like all the building of everything. Like, I enjoy it. It's just, you only have so much time. Like when you're trying to, toggle all of your, you're pretty much your own manager. So you're trying to find sponsorship, you're trying to train, you're trying to do your bike work, you're trying to figure out where you're staying and where you're traveling, how you're getting there, and then parts, and then, food. Like I said, I can go down the list, but it's tough. But I just don't really have somebody that kind of like you have that has like can do the videos and stuff for you. Whether I don't know if he edits it for you or if you edit it, but that's one thing that I've had a lot of people come to me about. Like, dude, you need to start doing this and this and that. And that's what I'm kind of trying to do with my Patreon through the private Instagram that I have, the MORANZ Racing account. That's kind of like my YouTube to an extent. And that's where like I place all my behind the scenes content for the people that join my Patreon. But I do all the editing myself, and I sit there and I'll play with it for hours to try to make it perfect because I'm kind of like a perfectionist, but I just don't have time for that. You know what I mean? So it makes me feel bad to try to post something that's maybe not up to my standards, and then like I struggle with that. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's worth trying to get into YouTube, whether like it's that good for you or okay.
It's worth it. Right. I struggle with wanting to tell people the secret.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I feel like I have enough of a head start at this point where I'm okay. And you seem nice enough. I'll tell you. And now I'll tell the whole world because they're all 2 people that are still listening, Bryce. It's worth it. Your videos at first are going to suck a little bit. There's no way to get around that. Like if I go back and watch my first YouTube videos, they weren't very good, but people enjoyed them because it was me.
Yeah.
Like they could see what I was doing. They're going to want to see what you're doing. They're going to start really investing in you. And I think as long as you have patience with it, it takes a little bit to get going, but once it does, it catches some serious traction. And then it got to the point where I was able to monetize my YouTube. And then right away I looked at it like a business. I was like, okay, I'm not going to just use this $300 a month and go, buy a car and make a $300 a month car payment. I was like, I'm going to use this $300 a month to buy equipment. So then I went from using my iPhone to I bought a Canon G7X, like a digital, like a little point and shoot camera, probably a $700 camera. My videos got a little better then. Then I got a GoPro. Then I got some other stuff. My videos got a little better. And then I bought the camera I have now, which is a Panasonic GH5. It's like the best camera that you could get for this. Still didn't know what I was doing, but at least now, like my videos were wicked good
quality,
which is pretty darn important. And then it got to the point where I was making so much that I was able to hire my full-time guy, Cam. And then it just snowballs. I mean, the opportunities now are absolutely endless because the stuff he can create is unbelievable. And the next step from that,
you just talking about it on Wednesday if you want to.
No, I'll say it because I think very few people would be able to follow through with this anyhow. And even if they did, there's room for everyone to do it.
Yeah.
I believe that the next step from that and create what are you seeing everybody do now? Everybody's creating a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
Your YouTube channel is sort of your own platform to like create your own channel, but not quite. YouTube has control. There's ads on there that it's youtube.com/AJCattonZero, whatever it is. The next step from that is creating your own platform, which is kind of, I would say Patreon is even the next step further, but it's not quite like as far as you can go with it because you're still patreon.com/Kevin MORANZ. And Patreon is pretty limiting as far as what you can do. It doesn't support that many things. It doesn't really support photo sharing or video sharing or live streaming or really anything that you would want to do. If you could create a platform, and this is what's happening now for me, to where it can be Kevin MORANZ Club, whatever the heck you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's your channel. And you could get 1,000 people a month at $15 a head. That's 15 grand a month. Yeah. And that's a reasonable number. I have 580 people on Patreon. And in my opinion, Patreon sucks.
Yeah.
So like if I could transfer those 580 people over to a better platform that's like has a good UI, like a good user interface, and it has the capability to support all of this stuff, I could up the price a couple bucks a month and bring in 1,000 people, 1,500 people, 2,000 people. 2,000 people at $15 a head. You're talking $3 grand a month. You're 30 grand a month.
Yeah.
And then you could sell timeshares and get a multi-level marketing pyramid scheme too.
Yeah.
I know this sounds crazy, but it's not, because if I shared with you how much I make on YouTube right now, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I know the number. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it can multiply itself big time. And I'm telling you, it's going to be the way that everybody goes, because everyone's going to get a YouTube.
Yeah.
And then at that point, look at Logan Paul, or there's like a couple of like really high profile YouTube guys. Steve Aoki just did it.
Yeah.
They have this thing, it's called Subify is the platform, but they've built their own fan experience platform that, like, you've seen Logan Paul now make the shift away from YouTube. And now he's just bringing everybody to the fan experience. He can fly people out and they hang out with them for a couple of days. So I could fly people to my home track, train them for a couple of days. You could do cash giveaways each month. You could do jersey giveaways. You could do all of these things to incentivize people. I could do online learning. I could do remote, like video analysis. I could do all of these things to incentivize people to bring them in.
Yeah.
but first has to come to YouTube following. So my following is at 60,000. It's pretty good. I have enough.
Was that how many subscribers you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which 60,000 on YouTube is probably the equivalent to like 500 to 700,000 on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Like monetization wise, you're saying, yeah.
Well, no, well, that too, but no, just
engagement.
Engagement.
Yeah.
I have 105,000 on Instagram. I surpassed the engagement on my YouTube at like 10K.
Holy cow.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
60,000, I kid you not, like, and I don't know where he went. He was in here a second ago. He can attest to this. Him and I have these conversations all the time because he's a creative mind like I am. We were sitting in a Waffle House after Daytona Supercross at like midnight. And a couple, like 3 or 4 people walk in. They have like a Eli Tomac shirt. You could tell they were fans, but they were like the fans that like probably don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there, and he goes, how many subscribers do you have to have, AJ, to where they know your name, to where the people that don't really know what the heck's going on, like everybody knows AJ Catanzaro, like everybody knows James Stewart, like everybody knows Jeremy McGrath or Eli Tomac or Ken Roxon. And I was like, I feel like, maybe if I could get to 250,000 subscribers or something, that would be everybody would know who I am.
Yeah.
And I say that, we finish our meal, and then as we're walking away, I hear one of them go, "Oh, that is him. That is him." And the other one goes, "Oh, it's too late now, you idiot." And I didn't want to, but when we got outside, I'm like, I look at Cam and he looks at me. He goes, "Dude, they freaking know who you were." I'm like, holy crap. We just had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's gotten to that point already. And I only have 60. I'm telling you, put your freaking, some of your eggs in that YouTube content basket or something.
Yeah. I'll talk to you more in depth about it on Wednesday for sure.
Dude, I'm telling you, I just have this gut feeling that like, and you would be very good for it. Like, you're likable, you're super smart. If you're creative enough to like come up with ways to do certain things, who knows, you could even be, if you're smart enough to be able to teach people how to ride too, you can kind of go a little bit the route that I go with it, because the tutorial stuff that has a lot of value in.
Yeah.
Do you know the MX Factory guy, the Tyler Lysay, or however you say his last name?
No.
MX Factory has 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. He has his own facility in Austin, Texas, to where he trains trainers and gives them an accreditation to where they then go work with all of these brand new, like, first-time riders.
Yeah.
So Tyler's at the point where he is making a living off of his facility that he built, where he doesn't have to train anybody. He has trainers that do it all for him, and he just cuts them a check, $20 an hour, whatever, normal rate would be. And he takes the rest. And then all of the training he does is content based. So if he wants to train a rider, he has his full-time film guy come out and film it so that it's for a video that he's monetizing.
Yeah.
So he only has to do the things that he wants to do.
Yeah.
I know this is all a lot, and you got.
No. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So do you? Obviously, you have a video guy, so I'm assuming he edits the videos too, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, that would free up half of my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's probably got to be the biggest thing for you.
That's the best investment I've ever made.
Yeah. 100%.
Now,
so like that's the one thing I was going to ask you. That's one thing I struggle with is like my trainer Drew is kind of like semi like a mentor to me too. And he's been talking to me a lot. He's like, dude, you need to find like an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kid that wants to get into marketing and everything, and get him to somehow come on as like an intern, or, even, just like wants to be a part of the program and learn. But like, it's so tough for me to, one, find that person, and two, like, trust them to make the video look the way like I want to make it look. Like, you kind of understand what I'm trying to say with that? Like, trusting somebody to make the video look good. I don't know how to say
finding somebody is not the problem, because there's a million people out there that would love to be involved in the sport.
Yeah.
But finding the right person is the hard part.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, I got very lucky. So my cameraman Cam, we call him, he sent me a message on Instagram, and I don't see half my messages on Instagram. I happen to see it. I click into it, and I was reading it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I get a million of those messages. Like, I'll do videos for you. But then he sent me a video, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
And he was just diehard wanting to get into it. And I was, the hard part is going to be as our stuff grows and he gets more opportunities, it's going to be harder and harder for me to keep them.
Yeah.
You know, you know what I mean? So, but it's just fine because I'll start making more money. I'm just going to have to start paying him a lot more money so that he doesn't jump.
Yeah.
But you'll find somebody. You just got to make sure you just be picky about it, I guess. But it's such a game changer. He does everything.
Yeah.
I mean, oh wait, this is doing my video. Let's see. He just went to the bathroom, but he's over there editing videos for me.
Yeah, like, cause like on race night. So what is it? So we raced last night. So Friday night, like when we were done at the track and everything, like I was up until damn near midnight just editing videos that I needed to post the next day, like before race day. You know what I mean? So like, it would be badass to have somebody that could help with that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I've been looking at. But
right now, if I were you, I know it's important to keep a lot of your stuff exclusive because that's what incentivizes those people to go to the Patreon.
Yeah.
Maybe make a little bit more of it public and try to take that stuff to your YouTube channel, because the more you grow that audience, the more people you'll have to then funnel to your exclusive page.
Yeah, so like that's one thing. I've had Anton from Swap Moto, he's talked to me a little bit about it. My brother talks to me a lot about it, is funneling stuff from, you know, even the stuff that I put on my Patreon or my MORANZ Racing Instagram, because that's pretty much like my Patreon. Like that's where you see all the exclusive videos, because that's the only way I can really control, you know, who sees my videos, I guess the best way to put it. Is transferring some of that stuff to YouTube. And I was like, yeah, like I'd love to do that, but then like I don't want to take away from what the Patreon is. And then at the same time, like when I wish I had more time to create content, or else, because then I could have enough content for everything. But I don't want to like dilute it too much to the point where I'm trying to create too much content and it's going in too many different directions. So it's definitely something that I need to learn a little bit more about and just kind of figure out what the heck to do.
You're good at getting sponsorship money on board. What I would do is I would allocate X amount of dollars, just like you would allocate X amount of dollars for flights or hotels or bike parts. I would allocate X amount a week to, if you can find somebody, to hiring somebody to do your stuff.
Yeah.
I got kind of lucky, like finding the person that I did. But people have, I mean, Alex Martin's got his guy, Freddie Noren has his guy.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah.
And they're affordable enough to where it's not completely out of reach. I will say that what gets tough is I'm not only flying myself to the race now, I'm flying Cameron to the race.
Yeah.
I'm not just paying for my $75 COVID test. I'm paying for his COVID test.
Yeah.
I'm not just, you know, it's like everything kind of doubles at that point.
Yeah.
At least you can stay in the same room as me.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Yeah. I think that's like definitely next steps for me, but it'll probably be like a next year Supercross thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe even an outdoor thing. I don't know. We'll see.
It's worth it. And for me, like I always said, I was always like, well, everyone's got such a head start on me. Oh, it's too late to do the YouTube thing because it's been around for so long. It's impossible to get a start. The only thing I regret is that I didn't start it sooner.
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely want to start it. It's just I want to find, like, honestly, this will probably be a large majority of what I talk to you about on Wednesday is like finding the happy medium of, I don't want to say it the way I want to say it. I'll say it to you personally the way I want to say it. But you know, like it's just finding the happy medium of what I can create with Patreon and how to kind of keep it exclusive without diluting what I want to post to YouTube. Because like I just want to find the platform that's the best, because I have a bunch of pretty badass footage of like me literally like right there with Webb and right there with Tomac and right there with Roxon. And like I actually have one that I literally just about died when I came up, and in the heat race, I believe I like So finish line, you know how sketchy that was, and Freeze was right in front of me. OJ'd it, didn't jump the next double. So like I followed the same line, but he rolled it. And I don't know why I didn't like try to transition out of my line, but I was just like, all right, like I'll just hit it. And then like I'm coming up and he's rolling up the landing and like, dude, like that far.
Ooh.
That far. Oh, sorry. That far. And like I don't know how it happened, dude, but it's a pretty insane video. So like I have like videos like that and stuff. It's just like you said, like you have a guy that's pretty good at editing all that stuff. And then I do have like a guy, Isaac Nelson, who's been helping me with like graphic design and stuff. So like and I obviously hired like BG to create like the little cartoons and stuff, like, cause that stuff looks professional. And then he kind of helps me with some of the design stuff, but like just finding a way to make people want to join it, I guess the best way to put it.
How much are you editing these things? Like what are you using for
I just use iMovie because I know how to use iMovie pretty well, but it's pretty amateur, I guess, but that's all I've ever had.
So the next step from that would be like Final Cut Pro. Is it very similar? Everything's the same. Like all of your shortcuts are the same. But once you get good at iMovie, you can easily transition to Final Cut Pro. Cameron uses Adobe Premiere, which is it's completely different and super confusing.
Oh, really?
But Final Cut Pro will actually make your process a little bit quicker, and it'll make like you just have more options when it comes to editing.
Yeah.
But also like leave it raw. I mean, you don't have to edit that much. The hard part
it's not even so much like editing and like transitions. Like, yeah, like most of my stuff that like goes to Patreon right now and stuff, to like the private Instagram account, is pretty raw. It's just, when you have a 17-minute main event, like, yeah, I could just post the whole thing and then whatever, but like going through that 17-minute main event and then the 15 minutes afterwards of me talking and hype that I made the main event, and then talking about how I was ahead of, whoever it was for so many laps, and like just like the hype of it that people would love to watch, and like the behind the scenes, like my personality, I guess is the best way to put it. And it just takes time to go through that stuff and get the little snippets that you want and the stuff that you don't want, and like take out the stuff you throwing F-bombs every other second and stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like it just takes time, and that's like the biggest thing that, is tough.
Dude, yeah, the time is a bitch. That's why what is it? Sunday night? Maybe we'll see this podcast up by Thursday, AJ?
Well, yeah, no, Bryce knows. I mean, you got to weed through it and and there's unfortunately, there's no getting around that, because especially if there's dialogue, you got to listen to it.
Yeah.
There's certain stuff that maybe you could put in 2x speed, like maybe your race, you could probably put in double speed to watch it back and just like skim through, and then make your cuts that way. But anytime there's talking involved, you do kind of have to watch through it. It's worth putting the time into, for sure. We'll talk about that more. But I tell you what, all of the excitement in my life right now and everything that like drives me to keep going has little to nothing to do with racing my dirt bike, and it has almost everything to do with creating content.
Yeah. And like it makes me smile when you say that, because like, I mean, obviously like racing is my main focus right now. I'm doing all this other stuff to help pay for the racing, but like it's so gratifying, or like it's just so fun, and like I actually have like true enjoyment out of the editing, the stuff that I put into these little programs, and like just like you said, creating content, and to like see it kind of progress and continue to build, like compared to where I was last year to where I am now, and how I keep growing. It's just fun. Like it truly is enjoyable.
Yeah, and the hardest part is you're one person, so there's and try to figure out like when you can delegate stuff, delegate it, as long as you trust the person. And that's hard. I don't know, you're so early in your career that there does have to be so much focus on the riding.
Yes.
And that's the hard part.
You're laying a good foundation, Kevin. You got a lot of TV time. They're talking about you. You're making a splash.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
If we could come back to dirt bikes real quick, I do.
We're getting too excited, dude. I love talking about this stuff.
Right? I know. I do want to talk about Roxon.
Okay.
And so this goes to both of you. Does Roxon have a prayer now?
Not unless Coop messes up big time.
Yeah, I somewhat agree.
I love Roxon, honestly. Like, I don't know either of them. I would rather Roxon win because just his backstory has been pretty cool.
Exactly, right? You want to root for him.
Yeah, but kind of like how Daniel said it in the one main event. I think it was the third main event or whatever at Arlington, when he didn't like hit back when he probably should have. Like, it's kind of a good point. It sucks to say, but like that was kind of your chance to kind of not mess him up, but like shake him up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude's pretty solid. Obviously, clearly he's pretty there mentally. So like, unless he has a malfunction of the bike or he really hits the dirt, I think it's pretty much over.
Yeah, and going to what you said, where starts are so mental, Webb is willing himself to good starts every single time now, no matter what. It's almost like a Dungey situation where it's like, I watch these main events and I go, oh, I hope Webb doesn't get a good start this time because it's over if he does. And every time he does, just like Dungey would be top 5 in the start every time, no matter what.
Yeah.
And like you see Roxon come around the first turn and he's in like 17th place. And it's like, that's probably, did he mess up? Yeah, maybe. But there's something mental going on there, and Webb has the edge. Yeah, I agree. It would have to be something pretty major. You know who I was cheering for in that main event, though, Bryce? Can you guess?
AP?
No, selfishly. Think for a second. Selfishly, who would I be cheering for?
Who'd you have in fantasy?
Hold on. No. It's got to be more personal than that. Selfishly, who would you be cheering for?
Plessinger.
Yeah, I said AP. I said AP.
Oh, you said AP? Oh,
yeah.
Well, okay. Maybe it was too obvious for me to even guess. That was such a bummer to see him go down like that.
Yeah, such a silly mistake too. But I'll use that as an example because the way he crashed is like what I tell all my students, how everybody crashes in corners. It's the same thing. But yeah, he was leading, and I'm like, come on, AP, come on. I've never cheered for somebody so much. Perfect. Like, go out and win and then come to class on Wednesday. Well, he still got one more shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, that was before Max from Dirt Bike Depot came up and put the bug in my ear about getting you on to hire you for class on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Price, did I even tell you Kevin's going to teach with me on Wednesday? Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
When is the Plessinger class?
Same day. Is that
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're doing tandem. Gotcha.
Yeah. Because I sold enough spots. I'm like, I don't want to like put all that load on Plessinger. So I was like, I need to find somebody else. So Max at Dirt Bike Depot had put that bug in my ear about you, and I had kind of had my heart set on getting you as well. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like, he made the main event, and then I got Plessinger leading the main event. I'm like,
yeah.
So no,
Yamaha seems to have it figured out, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Yamaha seems to have it figured out. You go back a few years, and I feel like when James Stewart kind of had his issues with Yamaha, I feel like Yamaha just got written off for a lot of people because it was no secret that Stewart hated the Yamaha, like hated the bike, almost killed him a couple times from what he said. And, they've struggled outside of like Justin Cooper. They've struggled to have a big name do very well. Now it's cool to see they took the 250 main event win, 1 and 2, and Plessinger has just been on fire outside that little mistake. Just been really great to see.
And Mookie's been super, super consistent.
Yeah, he's right there too. What did he get, 5th or 6th?
Yeah, he was up there somewhere. Anderson got 4th. Yeah, he might have been 5th or 6th. It's cool to see the confidence shift. And I went up and said that to AP. I'm like, dude, it's so cool to see, like, all of a sudden did he win a heat? I forget what came first, but I think he might have won a heat. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, like that was all he needed. And then he gets a podium, and then wins another heat. And now he's consistently up front.
And he was way up front when he was up front.
He was checking out. Well, he was checking out. And then when Sexton got by Cooper, they were pretty much staying the same. Like, that was, Aaron was going to win that if he didn't make that little mistake. But then it was like when he got back up and he just got eaten alive by 3 or 4 dudes because they were all right on top of him after that. But yeah, I was out there cheering. Every time he came around, I was yelling for Buster. I'm like, please win, please win.
Yeah, I know. That'd be huge.
Yeah, that was dope. And Thrasher, that was an awesome win too. I can't even imagine like how emotional he was after that to go out from LCQ. When was the last time that happened? LCQ.
I was wondering that too. When's the last time somebody's done that?
It's been a while.
What was his best finish before that?
I think he said
not
10th.
Very good.
10th.
It was 10th?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Bro, what?
Wow. That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. It is.
All right. Well, hey, I gotta go to bed because I gotta teach tomorrow. We've had you on for way too long. Sorry. I don't know if I told you how long we plan to stay on for, but I always tell people an hour and then it ends up being 2.5. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Right.
You're good.
Before I let you go, AJ, what is your game plan for Tuesday?
For Tuesday, to not ride like a sissy, man. All right. No, my game plan, as simple as it may sound, is to just do all the rhythms right off the bat and kind of get back into the swing of things, because I rode so freaking slow in the time qualifier Saturday. Didn't jump anything, didn't even think about jumping anything because I just felt so out of sorts. It's like, because we took too long off. You know what I mean? When we have the Saturday, Tuesday,
it's a long
Saturday
break. Yeah.
I can start to get the momentum going again. So I'm just going to make sure like I get aggressive right away, and that's that.
Are we back to me giving you a hard time day of the race, or are we still like I should walk on eggshells?
No. Call me up, man. Call me up.
Okay.
Right.
And what about you, Kevin? What's your plan for Tuesday?
Main event again. That's my goal. And then obviously that's the first goal. If we're in the main event, then top 15.
Weather's looking good for Tuesday, or what's the forecast?
Yeah, I think so.
I have no idea.
Good.
I know my goal. I have a goal. I'm sitting third in the pulp points.
Yeah, dude, get that. That's a payday right there, bro.
Yeah. So I got to beat Nick Schmitz in first and Jeremy Smith, my teammates, in second. So, and Joan Cross is a close fourth behind me. So I need to make sure I beat those 3 guys. That right there, that's my primary goal. Because if I win that pulp series, that's like 30 or 40 grand. So that'd be nice.
Jeez, I wish I was in that running.
That'd be just my luck too. Because dude, I didn't know it existed until last week. You know what I mean? And all like these privateers that like they're probably from day one, it was their goal to like get that money. I didn't know it existed until last week. It'd be just my luck to end up somehow winning it all.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So how are you eligible for that?
So they pay points from 5th place, so the first spot to not make it in the LCQ, to last place in the LCQ. And they keep track of those points each weekend. And then it's just like a NASCAR Cup Series, how the points reset and they take the top 10 guys at that point, and then they fight for the championship. So after Arlington, or I don't know, a couple races ago, the points reset. And it wasn't until that night that I figured out it was a thing. Somebody goes, hey, you're in the pole points. You made it to the top 10. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they showed me the thing. I'm like, oh, that's sick. So then the top 10 guys that next weekend, Noren was hurt. Carlin Gardner was hurt. Starling made the main event. Joan Cross made the main event. Like there was right away 4 or 5 guys that were out of the running. So I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. We're in 4th place in that LCQ. We might mess up in the last corner and get 5th.
Yeah. I would much rather get 5th in the LCQ than 4th than make it in the main event at this point.
Oh, jeez. So that's your strategy. Okay, I got it.
Sorry, Jason. Sorry, team manager. Sorry.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, yeah, Kevin, thank you so much for jumping on. It was great talking to you and getting to know you a little bit. Wish you luck in the series, especially when you go back to the 250s. Looks like you got a good head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate the invite.
Yes, sir. I'll see you Tuesday, and then we'll talk. We'll talk on Wednesday.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
For class.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
See you later.
All right, bye.